What if I told you that you don't actually need a strict budget to take control of your money? What if the real reason you keep failing at budgeting isn't because you're irresponsible, but because budgeting itself is designed to break you? Think about it. How many times have you created a perfect plan on paper, only to fall off after a week and feel guilty for it? What if the problem isn't your spending, but your mindset? For years, we've been taught the same advice. Make a budget, stick to it, and force yourself into discipline. But more and more financial psychologists and behavioral experts are saying something surprising. Traditional budgeting may actually be making people's financial lives harder, because budgeting is built on restriction, and the human brain is wired to rebel against restriction. So the real question is this: if budgeting isn't the answer, then what is? And how do we fix our relationship with money without drowning in guilt, stress, or pressure? Let's break it down. Most people think money issues come from not earning enough or not controlling expenses. But in reality, the biggest financial decisions we make aren't logical, they're emotional. You don't overspend because you don't know the math. You overspend because you're stressed, because you're tired, because you want comfort after a long day or escape from a chaotic life. Budgets fail because they depend only on willpower, something that runs out fast. You can force discipline for a few days, maybe weeks. But once stress hits, life changes, or emotions rise, the brain picks short-term relief over long-term plans. That's not a character flaw. That's human psychology. Behavioral finance proves this. We avoid pain, we choose instant reward, and we fall into decision fatigue. A strict budget multiplies these pressures until you eventually give up. So what's the alternative? It's a mindset shift called value-based spending. Instead of forcing yourself into a rigid plan, you start asking a new question, not how do I cut my expenses, but what do I actually value? You spend more on what matters deeply to you, and you cut out the things you don't care about. Suddenly, money stops being a punishment system and becomes a tool for building a life that feels aligned with who you are. You stop buying things that give you 5 seconds of happiness and start investing in things that give you long-term meaning. You track your spending for awareness, not guilt. You automate savings, so you don't rely on discipline. You create categories based on your values, not strict limits that suffocate you. And slowly, without even realizing it, your financial life becomes clearer, calmer, and more in your control. Because here's the truth. You're not bad with money. You're not lazy. You're not undisciplined. You're just human, operating within a system that was never designed for how humans actually think and behave. When you shift from budgeting to value-based spending, you give yourself permission to build a financial life that's not about restriction but intention. And for the first time, money stops feeling like a battle you're losing. It starts feeling like a path you're walking with confidence. Why traditional budgets fail: psychology and behavior. Most people think budgets fail because they don't have discipline, but the truth is deeper. Traditional budgets are built on restriction. Don't buy this, cut that, limit yourself everywhere. And the human brain is designed to react negatively to restriction. When you tell yourself, I'm not allowed to spend on this, your brain doesn't relax. It resists. This resistance builds pressure. You stick to the plan for a few days, maybe even a week, but the moment stress shows up, your willpower collapses. And once you break the budget even a little, guilt takes over. You tell yourself, I already ruined it, so what's the point? This is the all or nothing trap, where one mistake feels like total failure. Budgets don't consider emotions, emergencies, social life, or unexpected responsibilities. They assume you're a robot who can follow rules perfectly every day. But real life is messy. Real life is unpredictable. Strict budgets don't move with life, they fight it. That's why millions of people quit. Not because they're weak, but because the system isn't built for real humans with real emotions. To the psychology of spending, why we buy the way we do. Money is never just money. Every purchase carries emotion. When you're stressed, tired, lonely, or overwhelmed, your brain searches for relief, and spending becomes the quickest reward. It's not about being irresponsible, it's about self-soothing. That's why people scroll online stores late at night. That's why a small purchase can feel like a moment of peace. Traditional budgets treat spending as a cold, logical process. But psychologists know the truth. Humans rarely spend logically, they spend emotionally. And those emotions are shaped by years of experiences, your childhood, the way your parents handled money, the fear of not having enough, the guilt of wanting something for yourself. Many people grew up hearing money is always tight or we can't afford that, and that creates a scarcity mindset. When you finally have a little money, your brain says, spend it now, before it disappears. This isn't bad behavior, it's emotional survival. When you understand that spending is emotional, not logical, you stop blaming yourself. You stop fighting your own brain. And you start learning how to make money choices that actually respect your emotions instead of denying them. 3. Behavioral finance. Your brain is working against you. Behavioral finance explains why people make money decisions that don't make sense on paper, but make perfect sense in real life. Your brain prioritizes short-term comfort over long-term goals. This is called present bias. So even if saving for the future is important, the desire to feel good today is stronger. Another psychological force is loss aversion. Humans hate losing more than they love winning. This means that anything that feels like cutting back or losing freedom creates stress, even if it's for a good cause. That's why budgets feel painful, they're built on loss. Then comes decision fatigue. Every day you make hundreds of choices. By the end of the day, your brain is exhausted. That's when impulse spending happens. And strict budgets increase decision load even more. You're forced to monitor every small choice. Should I buy this? Should I cut that? Is this allowed? Eventually, you burn out. Your brain simply says, forget it, and you abandon the entire system. But you didn't fail. Your brain was never built to operate under constant self-control. Understanding this frees you. Money isn't just math, it's human psychology, habits, and emotional patterns. Those patterns can be changed without punishing yourself. For the mindset shift, value-based spending. Here's where everything changes. Instead of obsessing over cutting expenses, what if you focused on identity, purpose, and meaning? Value-based spending is simple. Spend more on the things that matter deeply to you, and cut the things that don't. Not because you should, but because they don't add meaning to your life. When you shift from restriction to intention, money becomes empowering instead of painful. Ask yourself, what do I actually value? Freedom, travel, family, health, learning, stability. Once you identify your values, your spending becomes clear. If you value health, spending on the gym isn't a luxury. It's aligned with who you want to be. If you value experiences, cutting travel just to balance a budget will only make you miserable. But here's the magic. When you spend intentionally, you naturally spend less on things that don't matter. You no longer need guilt or strict rules to stop you. You stop buying empty happiness and start investing in purpose. This mindset shift gives you control without pressure. It creates financial discipline without force. It transforms money from a battlefield into a tool for living consciously, fully, and authentically. 5. How to apply value-based spending in real. Start with awareness, not punishment. Track where your money goes for 30 days, not to shame yourself, but to understand yourself. Once you see the patterns, break your spending into 2 categories: joy purchases and empty purchases. Joy purchases fuel your values. Empty purchases drain your money without giving meaning. This clarity alone changes everything. Next, choose your top 3 to 5 values. These are your new financial priorities. Create spending categories based on them, instead of entertainment or miscellaneous. Create categories like health, growth, family, freedom, or experiences. Suddenly, money starts flowing in the direction of your life vision. So automate bills and saving so you don't rely on discipline. You don't need to battle yourself every month. Just set systems that work quietly in the background. And instead of asking, can I afford this? Ask, does this align with my values? This question alone eliminates impulse buying more effectively than any strict budget ever could. Over time, you'll notice something powerful. You feel less guilty. You feel more in control. You feel more connected to your choices. You're not surviving financially. You're building a meaningful, intentional financial life. At the end of the day, money isn't just numbers on a screen. It's emotion, it's memory, it's fear, it's hope. And for most of your life, you were taught to fight your own nature, to restrict yourself, to control everything, to force discipline until you burned out. But you're not failing. The system is. Because you were never meant to live your entire life trapped inside a budget that doesn't understand your reality. your emotions, or your dreams. When you begin spending based on values instead of guilt, something shifts. If your money starts supporting the life you actually want instead of suffocating you, you stop chasing perfection and start building intention. You stop surviving month to month and start creating a future that feels like yours. So today, don't punish yourself for every mistake. Don't shame yourself for what you didn't know. Don't let a broken budgeting culture define your financial worth. Instead, take a breath, step back, and choose a new path, one that's built on clarity, meaning, and self-respect. Because mindset beats money. Values beat rules. And when your money aligns with your life, that's when real freedom begins.